Okay. Buenas tardes, Marianas. Tina and I are humbled by the outpouring of support that has made the news of this day much more uplifting than you would expect. We are proud of the campaign that we ran and the plans that we made. We are proud to have made history and put more cracks in that glass ceiling for the next woman or women who plan to run for this office. In your kind messages, you've shared how we've inspired you in many ways, from the hard work and leadership that we offer to the fact that we should expect more from our government, especially with respect to accountability and fiscal responsibility. To all of our dear, dear supporters, especially those who couldn't vote yet, the youth of the CNMI, don't lose faith. We cannot lose hope. We cannot lose hope that good governance can exist in the Marianas. It just might take more time to get there. And we need all of you, our whole community, to keep pushing for the change that we want to see. As for me, I'll be here for the long haul, doing whatever that I can do so that I can leave this place better than I found it. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Sidu Usmasi.
Good afternoon, friends and fellow citizens of the Commonwealth, and welcome to the members of the press that are here. So most of the ballots have been counted by now, and the writing is on the wall. It is not the outcome that Leila and I hoped for, but it is an outcome we accept. Leila and I congratulate Governor Torres and Senator Sablan and Lieutenant Governor Palacios and Mayor Apatay for the success of their respective campaigns as they head into the runoff. From the bottom of our hearts, we also thank our incredible team of supporters, volunteers, donors, Democratic Party leaders, and fellow candidates, as well as our families, for an amazing campaign. It was clean, issue-driven, and spirited. It was fun. It was inspiring. It was historic in many ways. We ran on a platform of good governance, and we did it with love for our islands and a hopeful vision for our future. I am so very proud of the hard work that we've all put in together this past year to mount a great campaign and offer our people real choices on the ballot. It has been the honor of a lifetime to stand as your candidate for governor and to run with an individual of such integrity, compassion, and intelligence and courage as Leila for lieutenant governor. Leila and I campaigned on the promise of change. And we said all throughout that this campaign was about more than just winning this election and more than just the next 4 years. We sought to lay the foundations for a government that is fair, honest, and fiscally responsible, and a thriving future for all. Our efforts will not end today. Now, I'm very aware that some are saying the results of this election show that the people of the Marianas are not ready for change, or don't want change, or are afraid of change. And I'd like to offer some encouragement to those who are feeling disappointment right now. I look back today at an open letter I wrote in November 2009, after losing an election then. I said then that change is a process. It is often a slow process and an uphill battle, and there will always be setbacks along this journey. We must expect setbacks and continue to move forward, nevertheless, with our eyes set firmly on our vision for a healthier, more just, and more prosperous future. And we have to celebrate the wins too. Leila and I didn't win this election, but let's celebrate the fact that Democrats and independents won seats in the legislature. and may very well control the majorities in both the House and the Senate. Let's also celebrate that the gubernatorial election results show that more than 60% of those who cast their ballots voted for a change in administration. That's more than 60% of the voters across the Marianas agreeing that we cannot afford another 4 years with Ralph Torres as governor, and that we want and deserve a government that is worthy of our trust. Many have asked us, so what's next? Our immediate next task as citizens is to participate in the upcoming runoff election and make sure that there will not be another 4 years with Ralph Torres as governor. We have seen and suffered enough abuses of our trust in his administration. Leila and I are asking all of our supporters to vote for Arnold Palacios and David Apateng in the runoff. They are the better choice. And they can surely expect that we will hold them to the same standards of honesty, fairness, and accountability that Leila and I hold ourselves to. Our message to our supporters is this: don't despair, don't lose hope. Keep the faith and get out and vote. Beyond the runoff election, and regardless of the results, our Commonwealth needs us all to continue to fight the good fight. Fight the good fight for a future we can be proud of. Remember that this government belongs to all of us. Remember that we have the power to change our government and to demand the representation that we deserve. The movement for good governance must continue. As for Leila and me, we aren't going anywhere. Our hearts are here. We will serve out the remainder of our terms as legislators, and we thank the people of the Marianas, and especially the people of Precinct 2 and Precinct 5, who have given us the great honor of representing them. We will seek other ways to serve our community after our terms have ended. We know that our Commonwealth can only progress as long as there are people who love this place enough to stick around and do the hard work to make it better. Our future depends on it. May God bless our Marianas. We're happy to take any questions. Thomas.
I got a chance to speak with Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios around noon today. He did say he had a conversation with both you and Leila about forging a coalition.
Yes.
Many people have seen on social media the in Dems branding. You didn't explicitly say this in your address today. Are you throwing your entire weight behind the Palacios Apateng ticket? And as a follow-up to that, how has your criticism of the Palacios Apateng ticket changed? Because I believe before you've characterized their camp as independent Republicans not too far away from the current administration.
That's right. Well, circumstances have changed. We were the ticket running for real change and on a platform of good governance. And now that we are not going to be in the runoff, the better option from our perspective is Arnold Palacios and David Apateng. We have a good relationship with the Lieutenant Governor and with the Mayor. I've known both of them for a long time. I do have a lot of respect for their service. And what is clear to me, I think to Leila and me, is that we simply cannot afford another 4 years of Ralph Torres. So that is the choice that is before us. And the choice that we are asking people to make, all of our supporters to make, is to support Arnold and Dave in the runoff.
And just a quick follow-up, how are you going to influence your voting base to change their hearts to vote for a Palacios Apateng ticket? Many of them would have only preferred for you to be facing them in the runoff. So can you address maybe the core of your voters who say, if not you, then they won't show up to vote and support any other ticket in the runoff election?
I would encourage our voters to recognize that there is a lot at stake in this runoff election as well. and that we know what 6 years of a Tourist administration, how much damage the last 6 years of a Tourist administration has done. The abuses are well documented, going back years, and we think it is time for some kind of change in the administration, and that's what we're asking our voters to support. Thank you. Kay, you had a question?
Yes. So the history of past runoff elections has shown that voters tend to switch allegiances and vote for other candidates as opposed to the candidate that their intended candidate had encouraged them to vote for. How confident are you that your supporters will back Arnold and Dave and not be enticed by what the Tourist Sablon administration is offering or will offer in the next 14 days?
I have a lot of hope in the people who supported us along this campaign. And I think it's also fair to say that based on the election results, again, 60% of the people who cast their ballots in this election did not vote for Ralph Torres and did vote for a different option, right? Whether it was me or Arnold. And I'm hoping that commitment to seeing change in this next administration, I hope that commitment bears out in the runoff. At least that's what we're asking our voters to do. Yes, Lei.
So could you just give a comment on the protracted counting? I believe that this has been the longest.
Yes.
So could you just comment about that, please?
I think many of us who have been watching this election very closely have been dismayed by how long it took to get all of the ballots counted, and there are still some discrepancies, I think, in the numbers that have been reported, and a lot of confusion about what the final tallies are for each of the candidates. And I don't understand. I really don't understand why we still have glitches like this in our election process when we do this every 2 years. And I think it is imperative that we revisit an issue that has come up before, and that is the lack of standard operating procedures at the Election Commission. I know we bring it up every 2 years, every time there's an election, and that still hasn't been developed yet. And it's their one mandate. I know a lot of people worked really hard and really did their best to make sure that this election was free and fair, but part of ensuring the fairness and freedom of an election is also making sure that the information is accurate and that the public can trust the process as a result. So there's definitely some room for improvement. We actually have an Open Government Act request for information that predated the election, and we still would like to follow up with the Election Commission on that data that we requested, because it also goes to the procedures that they followed ultimately in this election. Did you want to add to that? Okay. Any other questions?
Viva Tita Leila!
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
You had one last question?
Yes, I know the numbers literally were just announced moments ago,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering how you approach precincts, absentee voters. Would you do anything differently? How would you have changed your ground game, you think, to make up for the 700 some votes that separated you from the independent ticket?
More house to house. I think that's always the answer.
More house-to-house visits.
Yeah.
I think it's still pretty new and fresh at this point. As you pointed out, we just got the final-ish results less than an hour ago. There's a lot that I think went really well in this campaign and that I'm really proud of, and that I wouldn't change anything about that at all. But certainly I think in the next few weeks we're going to take some time with our committee and with the party to debrief and evaluate what we did well and what we could do better in the next election. But I do think there's always room for improvement, right? And and we can draw some lessons from this election that will make us stronger in the next one.
And last night or this morning, however you think of it,
It's all a blur.
there was one issue with one of the ballots having to be cut open. The Democratic observer, Mr. Kirwa, protested that pretty publicly that night. Do you think that's something the party is going to bring forward and I don't want to say make an issue, but are you going to call for further investigation into that of any kind? Or?
Well, I know that our observers were taking notes throughout this process, and part of the, evaluation process after every election is to review the notes and debrief with all of the observers, and then with the staff of the Election Commission and anybody else that was involved in that process, to really look at what mistakes were made and how we can improve that process for the next election. So I do expect that issue, among other issues, will be taken up. And actually, after this press conference, we're going to be having a meeting to discuss all of the various issues and observations that our candidates and party members wanted to debrief on.
Right, and then just my last question. It's two parts. Number one, you can throughout this campaign, of course, it's been emphasized the historic nature of her ticket. So are you ruling out another gubernatorial run in 4 years? That's the first question. The second question is your message to young girls and kids watching your campaign.
Well, breaking that glass ceiling is really important, and we definitely put more cracks in it. There's more work to be done. I won't say if we are planning a run just yet, but
it's a little too soon to ask us that.
Yeah, but definitely we enjoyed this experience, and just grateful for all the support that we got from across the community, across the islands, across the states. It was really wonderful, and so who knows what the future will bring.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. And I guess my message to young girls and